And here we go. The very first round of Top Cut. Everyone here has made it in the Top Cut top 8. This was a 37 person tournament. Over 50 registered, but only 38 appears to have shown up. So the most interesting thing here is if we look at the team sheets, we are quite familiar with something that Josh has already put out earlier, the Mega Mawile with the Cereal Edge and the Melodic. But let's take a quick look at Kubi's team. Billy Cubillan bringing one of his favorite Pokemon, I believe, the Chestnut, piloting it to victory. I remember him posting about it several times on social media, how he really wished to bring his Chestnut and Pyroar into the game, and when Champions first came out, he finally brought that Chestnut in, but not the Pyroar. Now though, this Pyroar is here and it is ready to roar! On the other hand, we still know Josh's team here with the Mega Raichu Y and Mega Mawile duo, but in his previous game that we did manage to spectate and watch in a featured match, he didn't really bring either of these. Instead, he won with his remaining 4 Pokemon, but I'm digressing. Let's start the match. Josh will be sending out, leading with his Melodic and his Cereal Edge. On the other hand, Kubi will be leading with his Pyroar and his Whimsicott. Now, I'm not sure if that's that's an Alpha Pyroar, but I'd say it's pretty big. Now, the Pyroar here is quite interesting because the Whimsicott does have Sunny Day, so it can bring in the sun and just allow this Pyroar to explode with damage from the get-go. Yeah, there it is. The Sunny Day and the Mega Evolution coming from the Pyroar. This Pyroar is set in a very good position to Solar Beam directly into the Melodic. But yeah, and it will do exactly just that. Goes for the Solar Beam directly into the Melodic and will do a respectable amount of damage. But this Cereal Edge will be going for a Bitter Blade, knocking this Whimsicott down to its Focus Sash and healing up. Well, it wasn't really damaged in the first place, but the thing is, this Pyroar is not able to really hurt this Cereal Edge. This Cereal Edge, for better or for worse, will be able to absolutely wall Pyroar here. Now, we did see that there is no need for Tailwind currently, just because both Pyroar and Whimsicott are significantly faster than the Cereal Edge and Melodic. In fact, most of Kubi's team appear to be naturally faster than whatever Josh has, so it's really not a matter of speed control at this point. It's just doing damage, but the Whimsicott gets caught by the Cereal Edge there with a Shadow Sneak. This Pyroar will absorb light, and it will not be hitting into that Melodic, which is protecting itself. Melodic just taking up a little HP, chilling a little, eating up its leftovers, and yeah, we will be seeing the fish, Basculegion. Now, the more interesting thing here is, while there is no Tailwind boost from the Whimsicott from earlier, it's quite possible that this Basculegion might still be faster than the Cereal Edge. Even in the sun, Wave Crash is still incredibly dangerous. But yes, Pyroar will be going for another Solar Beam directly into this Melodic. Most likely not enough to take it out still, but enough to bring it down to an HP that's more comfortable at getting taken out. This Basculegion though will be smashing Last Respects into that protected Cereal Edge, doing no damage, but Hypnosis successfully putting the Basculegion to sleep though. Not able to do as much here, but again, this Pyroar and this Basculegion, this Pyroar-Basculegion combo, both of them are actually quite threatening, but Kubi will be bringing back his Basculegion and sending in his Chestnut instead. This Chestnut does have a Mega Stone and Bulletproof, and unfortunately, well, tactically, Josh will be pulling out his Melodic and sending Incineroar in. Successfully intimidating that Chestnut, dropping its attack stat by 1 stage. Solar Beam smacks into the melodic slot, but then it's been taken over by the Incineroar there, while this Serral Edge, seeing that it has absolutely no reason to be scared of anything, the Pyroar or the partner Pokemon, the former Basculegion was there, he goes, yeah, I'm going to just bulk up here, make myself a little stronger, make my Shadow Sneak a little more threatening, but at the same time, this Chestnut now very severely threatens this Incineroar, but Fake Out is still available to this Incineroar on this turn. It's in a very good position to choose either of these targets to take them out. This Serral Edge, though, still in a fantastic position to just keep bulking up. Pyroar, though, not wanting any more of that smoke, will be returning into its Pokeball, being tagged in by its partner Basculegion before. On the other hand, the Chestnut will be using Spiky Shield, protecting itself. Bitter Blade will smack into that Spiky Shield, hurting this Serral Edge just ever so slightly. The harsh sunlight has finally faded, allowing this Basculegion, if it successfully gets a move in, to finally do some damage. Of course, the Serral Edge has been boosted at least once by the bulk up, so it will be doing a very significant amount of damage into this Basculegion, and it really does. Sadly, Basculegion is still asleep. Body Press, though, will be smacking that Incineroar, knocking it down to 27%. And, well, Incineroar is Incineroar. Despite all of that, it still manages to survive and eat up that Citrus Berry. But interestingly here, Josh Chu instructs his Incineroar not to attack into the Chestnut, but instead to double up into the Basculegion to take it out. Pyroar back on the field with its fellow Mega Pokemon, but Chestnut is not Mega. Only a single Pokemon can Mega every game. And Josh still has all 4 of his Pokemon. In fact, we don't know what his final Pokemon is. This Incineroar has just been a menace. This Serral Edge even more so. And yeah, Josh will be pulling out the Incineroar and tagging in the Melodic. The Pyroar protecting itself, not wanting to get hit by, well, anything, but Bitter Blade will be hitting the partner Chestnut instead, healing the Serral Edge to full HP. But Smackdown hitting the Serral Edge for a measly 15%. It has been boosted enough to take very minimal damage. While Chestnut is incredible for its Wide Guard capability and Spiky Shield, there's really just not that much this Pyroar can do to this duo. I'm not exactly sure what Kubi can still do to take this game, but he's going to... Well, I know how the best players in the league play, and they're probably going to go for several more turns. No forfeits will come immediately. They're gonna have to think of several ways to keep going. But yes, this Melodic on Josh's side does have Protect. It can just protect through the next turn in order to avoid the Solar Beam that is incoming. At the same time, this Pyroar is just unable to do damage into this Serral Edge because it is also resistant to the grass move that is Solar Beam. It does have Flash Fire, so nothing this Pyroar can do with its flames can ever hurt it. And like I said earlier, Solar Beam will be going into the Melodic, smacking into the Protect, not doing much. 35% from the Bitter Blade, but then there's really not much that can be done here. QB must be thinking of ways to adapt to this situation. We're not going to be seeing a forfeit probably. Both players are going to play out the entirety of this game. Oh, okay. I may have spoken a little too soon, but yes, QB probably already has thought of a game plan adjustment. Hopefully he has, because that was a very commanding game 1 by Josh. So again, game 1 went to Josh there. Alright, so we saw the leads earlier, which was a Serral Edge and Melodic from Josh, but I'm more curious to see what kind of adjustment Kubi is going to do. Just because the Whimsicott and the Pyroar lead really was not it. It was completely walled out by the Serral Edge. In fact, this Serral Edge might be the very thing that's leading Josh's games to victory. A fairly uncommon pick, but considering all the fire types running around in the regulation, it's... I guess the only thing that would really threaten it would be a Swampert, but that's not even in the cards right now. There's a Pyroar and a Chestnut, two Pokemon that this Serral Edge really has no problem poking into. But Kubi is Kubi, and he is still one of the best, so we can't count him out just yet. Josh will be leading the exact same way though, with Serral Edge and Melodic, but Kubi, making a fantastic adjustment here, will be leading instead with Basculegion and Floette. While Floette will not be able to do all that much damage into the Serral Edge because Fairy is resisted by fire, it will be able to do a lot of damage into the Melodic, which has no way of boosting its special defenses. Josh sees that his Serral Edge here is threatened, immediately calls it back, and sends Incineroar in its place. That Intimidate coming in. While they're both fire types, this Basculegion is still in a very prime position with that Life Orb to use Wave Crash into that slot and just knock out whatever is coming. And yeah, we will be seeing a Light of Ruin directly into the slot of the Melodic, taking almost, bringing it down to 32%. And Last Respects, unboosted though, will be hitting the Melodic, but it is just not enough damage. That Intimidate has cost that Basculegion the ability to take out that Melodic. Melodic though successfully gets a single coil boost, will now be accurate enough to use Hypnosis. There's a significantly lower risk of it using Hypnosis at all, so from 60%, I believe it's now at around 90. It can still miss, but it's very unlikely. Kubi, seeing this, calls back his Eternal Flower Floette, his Mega Floette here, and just switches out for his Chestnut. Basculegion attacks into the Melodic, does almost nothing, but Incineroar on Josh's side sees the Basculegion is an open target, goes for the Throat Chop, and what a large target it is. Manages to just catch it on the fly, and well, nothing much the fearsome Basculegion could do there. It can still threaten with the Wave Crash, but Life Orb and Wave Crash will be too much for it, and it is still at -1. So Kubi, seeing this, will be calling back the Basculegion, and in its place, once again, will be the Floette. Josh, playing the mind games with all the switches, will be switching out his Incineroar for the Sinistcha. There is no Mega Pokemon here for Josh. Melodic, doing the most melodic thing it can do after a single coil, will be putting this Chestnut to sleep. But we have to note this Melodic is slightly slower than the Mega Floette. Even with the heals, Floette still has a very good shot at knocking out this Melodic with another Light of Ruin. Not too sure on the calculations whether Moonblast will be able to knock Melodic out at 50%, but you'll never know. This is a modest Floette, but we won't be seeing it attack this turn. It's going to be protecting itself. Rage Powder coming from the Sinistcha, trying to bait out any Moonblast or Light of Ruins there, and Melodic will in fact be going for a Dazzling Gleam. B, waking up, will be hitting that Melodic with Body Press, successfully knocking it out even after a coil because it was a critical hit, ignoring the defenses. The Chestnut lets out a roar of power, and Josh, seeing as there's no reason not to bring out the Serral Edge, finally brings it out. Now, we still don't know the full speed interaction between the Serral Edge and the Floette here, but The Chestnut on Kubi's side of the field is fairly threatened by the Serral Edge. It can't hurt it with anything other than Smackdown. But Josh will be bringing in his Incineroar in place of the Sinistra once more, just constantly switching in and out. The very essence of balance here. Light of Ruin will be attacking into that Serral Edge, resisted, but how much does it do? 59%. A very solid amount, but is that really something you'd want to do there? It is faster though than the Serral Edge, that's for sure, but Fake Out Pressure is back. Fake Out Pressure is definitely here from the Incineroar, so I can't see any other way other than both of the Pokemon on Kubi's side of the field wanting to protect here. At the same time, I think Josh is in a very good position, commanding position, that if he calls this right, he can in fact just go for another bulk up on the Serral Edge, not wasting his turn if Kubi decides to protect both of his Pokemon. This Incineroar, its very presence and the fake out, but yeah, there will be no fake outs. In fact, instead, we will be seeing the Sinistcha come back in and heal up that Serral Edge just ever so slightly. And yeah, the Floette will be protecting itself, and it will be poking directly into that. But Body Press going into the Incineroar slot, there are now two ghosts on Josh's side of the field. A fantastic switch by Josh once again. This Chestnut is just not able to do anything in the face of this Serral Edge. Serral Edge, on the other hand, really bulky. Not the type of Pokemon you'd think would be bulky in this case, or in this scenario. But here it is. Kubi seeing that, okay, I don't think I want to sacrifice my Floette for anything. Instead, calls it back and sends in the Whimsicott. Rage Powder will once again come from the Sinistra, trying to make sure that the Serral Edge is unhurt. Bitter Blade will be hitting this perfectly healthy Whimsicott, and it will be healing this. It will be healing this Serral Edge for so much. Practically to full. Whimsicott here though, I'm not too sure if it wants to exactly use Sunny Day. It can go for the Moonblast, but the threat of Sinistra there, Rage Powder is going to be a no-brainer. Both of the Pokemon on Kubi's side of the field are Grass types. If you are a Grass type, by the way, for all who do not know, Rage Powder does not affect you. Grass types can negate the effects of Rage Powder. That's why Follow Me is usually considered a more robust, better version of it. But we won't be seeing a Rage Powder here. Instead, this Whimsicott, with the last of its HP, will be using Tailwind to give its team a fighting chance. Smackdown goes into the Serral Edge, but seeing no reason not to go for more, Serral Edge just goes for the attack onto the very defensive Chestnut. Doesn't quite take it out even after a single bulk up, but will manage to heal itself completely. Matcha Gotcha will miss the Chestnut, but will not miss the KO on this Whimsicott. Down it goes. Now the real question is, will this... We know that the Incineroar is in fact still in the back, and we know that the Floette has higher speed than the Serral Edge, but at the same time, the Sinistra still has the ability to redirect moves using Rage Powder. So, both of the Pokemon Kubi side of the field, while significantly faster, they might not be able to do all too much. Both Sinistra and Serral Edge are extremely healthy. Serral Edge went from nearly red HP to 100% just like that. On the other hand, this Chestnut is really not able to do all that much. And yeah, Shadow Sneak coming from the Chestnut into the Floette will be able to knock it out. I think that there was no way for the Floette to survive that. Smackdown will hit into the Serral Edge, dealing 13% of damage, but then this Sinistra can just go for the Matcha Gotcha quite easily, knocking out the Chestnut here. Unfortunately, not the best Pokemon for special defense. Oh, not a Pokemon with the best special defenses, rather. So Kubi is now left with nothing but this fish. This very fantastical fish. And it has a life orb and a massive timer on it. It only has single target moves. There's nothing this fish is able to do. Even if it manages to Aqua Jet into the Serral Edge, that is not a guaranteed hit. This game may just be set and matched. Rage Powder, though, will come from the Sinistra. Aqua Jet hitting into it. The Life Orb chip will be taking away 10% of the HP, allowing the Serral Edge to take the game with Shadow Sneak. Game 2 and the entire set goes to Josh De Jose, Future.